Thank you for those of you that are joining us, and I know Dawson and Old Crow and folks online, we did say 1:45. We are just going to take a moment, though. The table of elders has decided that they would like to do a grounding prayer, given some of the tough conversations and comments we've had. And as is First Nation way, oftentimes we want to push pause when it's needed, and just make sure that we're creating space for ceremony. So the elders are going to do a prayer, and so I just ask folks to quietly just take a minute, and we'll listen to Elder Ann. Thank you.
My name is Ann Randickler. My native name is Ingahume. I'm from Carmack's Little Salmon. What I noticed before lunch was a heavy topics this morning, and a lot of the people here were feeling down. What we do as First Nation is we say a prayer. We are very spiritual people. I want you to know that I will say a prayer in my language. And also right now I'm losing a friend of mine, a longtime friend. She's going to pass in the next 2 days or so, maybe even less. So I'm kind of fighting back tears and everything. But my role, as my grandmother did, and my mother did, is to pray for the people. And people that are the street people, everybody my mother prayed for. And to pray for also the food that we're getting. And we're not trying to change people or anything. I'm with Wise Sport. I've been with them for a long time. So I'm going to say my prayer in the language. Our God was the Tr'ondek, but the same God as everybody. We call him a Tr'ondek. Roughly translated, he's the person we lean on, or the entity or whatever, we lean on him. That's the whole translation of that word. So I want you to pray for yourself, and that's what my mother said to me. Nobody understands your language. Some people, I told her, and she said, even at that, they're not supposed to be listening to you. I was just, didn't want to make any mistakes. But we make a lot of mistakes, don't we? My friend here, we're both with Y-Sport. We've been with them, we're the elders. So I just like to say a prayer now. Tr'ondek Hwech'in tiri sothan, kadung jide, daye sahu jido disi Tr'ondek Hwech'in tiri sothan. Yedan wandano adawayachung kanung tiri. Yedan kachajao. They're having a hard time. Ukadung jide Tr'ondek. So than that you meeting what's at sea. So than that anung tire dayan sahu jiro tani Tr'ondek. That anung tire dayan plant. I get hospital judeti, I get done. Yadan dear. Saunun jide, sauyadun jide, ukadun jide, Tr'ondek. I get a slam. Akuda jida, the now. So it's a true who got it lihuji. Leader. Kajijir Hagan. So daye sahuch iro di sintak anong tire sothan. Aku masicho. Amen. And yeah. Yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, every time we talk about something really rough, we should do that. Because part of our culture is spirituality, okay? And one of the 4 directions, the spirituality is right in there. Okay? Must-see.
Goodness, Jishan, thank you for the teachings and the reminder. Thank you, Jerry, for being there with support. Good? You good? Okay. Okay. So 2 shout outs before we get started this afternoon. If you have not had one of those delicious but dangerous brownies, she already knows what I'm saying. Those brownies over there, like, oh my God. And then secondly, if you haven't eaten yet, I already told Gene and his team, I'm known for my meatloaf in some circles, but this is better than mine. It was so good. So make sure you get your plate. I heard Dawson had some delicious food up there, and we're gonna get started shortly. So last call for coffee, folks. We're gonna get started for this afternoon. First, can I ask everybody who enjoyed their lunch to help me give a huge round of applause for Yukon U Culinary? Woo! It's not often people get that excited about meatloaf. Okay, so a few pieces for this afternoon before we get started. One, I want to just give a shout out to Gunta and their team who not only flew up to Old Crow and drove to Dawson to put Starlink in, but if you were like, I know, right? That's commitment. I mean, I washed my hair for the event, but they actually drove everywhere. If you noticed, like I noticed, how smooth Old Crow's hub was and Dawson, like that's fantastic. So shout out to Starlink. I think that's great. Secondly, I'm going to ask Davida just to run through. So a couple of you have brought this forward and said, where are we? Things have changed. And I often forget that there's folks in the room who need the agenda. And as Davida is one of those folks, she's going to run through what's happening this afternoon.
Perfect. Thanks, Tosh. As Tosh alluded to during the panel, thanks to good old COVID and perhaps other sicknesses floating around our community, we've had to make a couple of adjustments to the schedule for today in particular. So we'll note if you're looking at your agenda for day 1, the presentations for 1:45 and 2:15, where there was going to be that potential to be switching spots and there was going to be 2 different rooms. We had moved the opioid conversation to our keynote this morning, which then means that the traditional plants and medicines and the COVID-19 will happen in here for the whole group to hear. And so coming up next, we will be having those 2 presentations brought into us from 2 of our hubs. Then when that's done, we do have the chance to start moving around a little bit. And so we're going to have a beading workshop that will be happening in here starting at 2:15. And there will be a drumming and vibration workshop happening in the multi-purpose room at that point. When you're kind of sitting and listening here, start to think about what it is that you want to do after our afternoon break, because we have a bunch of presentations that are happening in the different rooms. And so you have that opportunity to be able to start to choose. So all 4 of those will be happening. You can see the way it's broken down on the left-hand side of your agenda, the presentation on the framework adaptation roadmaps and doing the work of community-based research are meant to be happening here in the Longhouse. And the presentations on the implications of Yukon socioeconomic data gaps and the presentation on interjurisdictional dynamics amongst Yukon First Nations and non-Indigenous governments during the COVID-19 will be happening in the multipurpose room. And so for those, you'll have to be making your choices to move back and forth. We have really quick turnarounds, so we will have to try to make our way quite quickly in between presentations there. We'll all come back together here at 4:30 for closing end of the day, a whole bunch of draws and door prizes and all that good exciting stuff before we come back tomorrow morning.
Good? It feels like people feel like they're a little bit more on sure footing there? Okay. Great opportunity today and tomorrow to lean into your uncomfortableness. If you're like me and you're not a beater, great time to learn. Also a good time to lean into your uncomfortableness and learn about hand games tomorrow. So there's your your call out. Jesse, you good? Sorry, I missed that. Okay, great. So we are going to go to our Dawson Hub, where Piper Fordham and Jamie Thomas are going to present on Knowledge from the Community Traditional Plant Medicine Working Group, led by Tr'ondek Hwech'in citizens.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Whitehorse, can you just let us know if you can hear us all right? Okay, thank you. We're coming to you from the Dawson Hub today. My name is Jamie Thomas. I'm a Tr'ondek Hwech'in citizen from Dawson City.
I am Piper Fordham, and I am from Tlingit Council.
We are going to tell you about some of the work the medicine group Gunatse has been doing here in Dawson. Next slide, please. In the spirit of reconciliation, we pay our respect to the Indigenous ancestors of this land and reaffirm our relationships with one another. We recognize that today we are coming to you from the traditional land of the Tr'ondek Hwech'in.
Who are we? We are a group of Tr'ondek Hwech'in First Nation citizens and community partners with a goal to reclaim and promote the intergenerational sharing of medicinal plants and traditions. Through learning and sharing within our group, we wish to develop materials and opportunities for others to learn about medicinal plants. In this way, we hope to promote the health of our community. Our group consists of an elder, a community herbalist who now goes by a knowledge seeker / keeper, youth, community members, and staff members from Y Sport, the Dawson City Community Hospital, and TH Wellness. Next slide.
Now I'll share with you what our journey has looked like so far. So we're currently in phase 1 of our community-led medicinal plant revitalization initiative. In phase 1, we will establish guidelines for proper harvesting techniques and collect data on Indigenous medicinal plant uses, traditional stories, and photography for future use in our many more projects to come. During this process, group members will learn traditional medicinal knowledge and also share their existing knowledge within the group. In the near future, we hope to partner with the First Nations Health Program at the Dawson City Community Hospital here in town to develop a First Nations cultural room and contribute more projects to that room. We also hope to partner with Tr'ondek Hwech'in Implementation to begin developing a book on the medicinal plants of the Tr'ondek Hwech'in that are found in our area here around Dawson City. Okay, right here. This is it.
Gunatse members are directly engaged in the research process through observing and locating medicinal plants in nature while harvesting. The group also participates in collecting data in the form of video, stories, and artwork to document this endeavor. They will also be involved in dictating the ownership of the data as well as the knowledge translation of findings.
Oh, wait. Oh, we'll just take a minute until the alert goes off for everyone. We did expect that. Okay. We now just want to share with you a few of our objectives. So we hope to host 4 workshops a year taught by medicinal plant expert, knowledge keepers, and seekers. Our hope is to host 1 workshop per season, and these workshops don't always have to be a formal workshop sitting down, sharing knowledge, but might instead look like a harvesting workshop where we're on the land learning from others how to properly harvest plants. It's really great to do 4 workshops a year, 1 per season, because we can work with a large variety of plants and make sure that we're working with them during their prime season. We also want to contribute an interactive display to the First Nations Health Program's cultural room in the Dawson City Community Hospital. This room has been undergoing renovations currently to continue to build this awesome cultural room here at the hospital where the community can go and have a safe place to access culturally relevant care. We will also continue to collaborate with WISPOR junior researchers, as well as our research assistant, Piper. Now, for our vision, so our vision is that we hope to reclaim and promote the intergenerational sharing of medicinal plants and traditions. Okay. And this we touched on a little bit before, but how the group engages in the research process is that members observe and locate medicinal plants on the land, and they also collect data in the form of videos, stories, and artwork. Next slide, please.
For our 4 seasons for our medicine making workshops, we're going to do spring and March to May. And so some ideas for what we're going to be working with is poplar bud, and the theme would be immunity. So we bring these workshops and we create them around conditions. So for spring would be immunity, as an idea, of course. Summer, June to August, would be spruce tips, rose petals, dandelions, and nettle. And summer is the prime time for harvesting plants, so that those workshops would be mainly focused around harvesting, how to properly do that with respect. And then the fall, going into berry season, so cranberries, blueberries, and then we'd also be taking in some of those plants from the summer and creating skincare for salves, creams, oils. And then winter would be more theme stuff that you can get in throughout the winter. So chaga, spruce pitch, and our main theme for that would be mental wellness, since it does get pretty dark here. And so it'd be mainly to promote health and mental wellness.
Okay, next slide, please. All right, an apothecary. WISPOR facilitated and continues to support the apothecary project. We are hoping to see an apothecary come to life in the Dawson City Hospital cultural room. The apothecary is one of the ways we continue to work towards the indigenization of the hospital in our community here. Our goal is to create a safe and culturally inclusive space for everybody. We hope for the apothecary to consist of a cabinet and a hutch stocked with traditional plant medicine to support the well-being of the community. I like to visualize this as a bookshelf type of structure that will be stocked with various jars that are filled with dried plants for the community to access. We also hope to create a manual to complement the apothecary that will be organized by condition. For example, if I have a cough and I go into access the apothecary at the hospital, I can look up cough in this really user-friendly manual and learn about which plants in the apothecary can support that and how to prepare them. I can then access the plants in the apothecary and take them home to make, for example, a tea, a tincture, or another form of taking the medicine. In addition to the apothecary and the manual, there'll also be panels displayed that will discuss topics such as harvesting protocols, how plants were used by our ancestors long ago, and other educational panels that we hope promote community wellness. Unfortunately, a knowledge keeper / seeker from Gunatse, Fran Morberg Green, wasn't able to make it today, but she's been very active in the apothecary project. Fran continues to support WISPOR and Gunatse. She's learned many lessons from her late mother, Julia, who's a Tr'ondek Hwech'in citizen and very loved by our community. Fran went on to attend herbalist school, and she continues to share her knowledge with the community and with Gunatse. Next slide, please. Here's a photo of members of Gunatse meeting with members of the Yukon Hospital Corporation to discuss potentially setting up an apothecary stocked with traditional medicine in the hospital and to determine the next steps forward. Next slide, please.
For my research, I am creating a survey with the help and guidance from Gunatse to research the needs of Indigenous people who are accessing healthcare here in Dawson City. The aim of this research is support community and connection with the Indigenous population to create the Dawson City Community Hospital a safe place of healing and health physically, mentally, and spiritually. How to provide traditional Indigenous plant medicine, nutrition, ceremonial practices such as smudging, the inclusion of art and language, and all the way to direct advocacy and support for First Nations health in the community hospital. This survey will bring forth the Indigenous community's voice and to process the indigenization of the hospital here, how to support the citizens, how they need and how they want, and how to make these processes and programs benefit the community to the fullest ability. As well as I'm creating the framework and guidance and almost a stepping stone to bring to other communities as well. This survey and process will also rebuild and improve the relationship between Indigenous people and the healthcare system to be more inclusive and to provide Indigenous people with the option of accessing culturally competent care and care that makes them feel safe in the hospital, creating an environment of healing, trust, and support for the Indigenous community of Dawson.
Thank you so much, everybody. Merci Cho. We actually have a few members from Gunatse here with us today, so we just wanted to provide them with the opportunity to introduce themselves and put some faces behind the name Gunatse as a group. So I'm just going to walk around now so they can introduce themselves. And after that, we are welcome to any questions that anybody may have there in Whitehorse or here in Dawson.
Hello, my name is Phyllis Betraqua. I'm a Tr'ondek Hwech'in elder. I'm a member of the Gunatse committee. Why is traditional medicine important to me? Very important to me because I grew up with it and it works for me. Whereas Western style medications and treatment does not work for me, period. I always react to what the doctors give me, so I go back to land-based medicine, which works for me. Merci cho.
Hi, my name is Dina Titus. I've been with the group since the beginning. I've been able to witness the development of it, and we've come a long way over the past few months. Really happy about the preventative healing that we're looking at, and bringing generationals together, youth, elders, young ones. Enjoying it very much.
Hello, my name is Natasha Negraev. I'm elder support for Tr'ondek Hwech'in Wellness. I'm also part of the committee in the beginning process of getting everything together. I'm very excited to be part of this and look forward to how it develops over the years and to one day be a great grandmother and to bring, little ones in. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have a bit of time left now, so we're open to any questions if anybody in Whitehorse has anything they'd like to ask us, or in Old Crow.
Perfect. Thank you for that amazing presentation. Definitely, if there are any questions here on the floor at KDCC, and I know that our moderators are watching for questions online.
Hello, this is Alison Perrin. Thank you for the really interesting presentation. I was wondering if you encountered any challenges in bringing Indigenous medicines into the hospital and how you overcame those or what you did to get them into the hospital.
Thank you for
Thanks,
that
Ellen.
question. We're still in the very early stages of even discussing the idea of bringing medicines into the hospital. One thing that we're very conscious of is how traditional plant medicines might interact with prescriptions that are coming from the pharmacy. So that's something that we're being very conscious of. That's one thing I can think of. Piper, do you have anything to add?
No, I think that was our main thing was,
Yeah.
Thank you. We have one more question here in Whitehorse as well.
Hello, Dawson. It's Dennis Peter. Back in the 90s at the First Nation Health Program at the hospital, they created a video series of traditional medicines, and the series was put together by elders from all across the Yukon at the time. And I'm just wondering, have you guys been able to access those videos, or have you heard of it?
This might be a good question for Irina we have here today from the First Nations Health Program. I haven't had access to these videos yet, but do you want to speak to it, Irina? Do you know about them at all?
Hello. I also didn't access them, and I might actually inquire about them. They might be in our archives. And thank you for mentioning that. This might be a great resource for all of us. Thank you. Masicho.
There's the knowledge sharing for you. How can we share resources? Thanks, Dennis. I think we have another question here on the floor in Whitehorse.
Hi, I'm just wondering how we could, I know this is the beginning stages of the program, but any ideas if we are interested in replicating them in communities and replicating the model? And also, I might be mistaken, but I feel like last year the First Nations Health Program told me they were already starting to work with a pharmacist to work on traditional medicines that could be used in the hospital. So I'm not sure if that resource is already connected with your group, and that was the First Nations Health Program in Whitehorse. And I have people from the hospital nodding. So they had a pharmacist that was interested in herbs and traditional medicine that was studying it to make sure that for each condition, the medicines didn't interact. So that.
We did not know about that, and we would really like to connect with that pharmacist in the future. We are hoping that we could act as a model here in Dawson for other hospitals across the Yukon and also other rural communities who might benefit from this.
So just for the pharmacist, it was the First Nations Health Program that kind of mentioned it in orientation, so they would be able to direct you to and give you an update as to where their program's at.
Okay, thank you so much for that information.
Perfect, thank you. Any other questions online or here in Whitehorse? Is that your hand up there, or just leaning on your chair? Yeah, just lean in, okay. Oh, 1 second here.
Hi, Jamie and Piper, it's Amy. I was just wondering what would be the biggest support for the working group in its next steps?
Hi, Amy. That's a really good question. We have had amazing support so far. So I think just continuing to have support from our community, from Dawson City, but also from other communities, especially Watson, now that we have Amy, our First Nations research coordinator there in Watson Lake. It would be great to have some support there as well to maybe see something similar like this happen there as well. Do you have anything to add, Piper?
All right, folks, I think we have time for one more question if someone has one. There we go. 1 second here, Laura.
Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Salmon, Director of First Nations Health Programs, and I'm based out of the hospital here in Whitehorse. And it's not actually a question, it's more just a clarification, I guess. We have traditional medicine, traditional food, and a number of other programs, and have branched that out into the community hospitals. So we are working actively with this group to see how traditional medicines can be incorporated into the Dawson Hospital. And I wouldn't say there's really insurmountable barriers. It has more to do with just operational things around the coming and going of people into the cultural room and out. I do know about the video. Where did Dennis go? There he is. I do know about the videos, and those were done in partnership with CYFN back in the day, and the ownership under our agreements were with them. And so we didn't really know what to do with all those DVD tapes that you couldn't really play on anything anymore. So those were all actually returned to CYFN, but it is kind of in our plan to see and work with communities on how that information could be shared. The protocols were very strict in the early days around sharing of the information and how they could be viewed and when they would be viewed, and having elder presence and that kind of thing. And I think there was one other question that I should know the answer to, but if anybody has more questions, they can reach out to me.
Thank you so much, Laura.
All right, we do have time for one more. We do have a hand up in Old Crow, and so we'll go to that as our last question for these two ladies.
Florence Nitrovaji. My name is Florence Nitro. I'm from Old Crow. In the past, we've learned a lot about traditional medicine through our grandparents and our parents. There is one plant out there that is very powerful. And do you know if there's any that sort of teaching in your community that has that? I don't want to say it this way, but my grandmother told me and my older sister one day to go up the hill and get some medicine for her. She was blind and she was elderly. So we had to sit down and she explained how to get this medicine. You have to put something in place of these medicine before you take it out of the ground. And also this plant that she told us to get, it looks like a rhubarb, but it grows up towards the mountain here in Old Crow. So we went up towards the mountain, and we picked about 4 of them, which we found. And we brought it down, and she told my mom how to prepare it. She said, so she did prepare it with, they had to boil it, and it looks like it's kind of like reddish brown color. And we were not allowed to touch it, me and my sister. She said it's so powerful that if you take it more than how, like she explained about it in my language, that it will affect a person, anybody. And they keep some of these medicine from getting out there so people won't get hurt from it. It's just like up here, we don't eat the mushrooms because we all know that it's not good for us to eat by the elders. So this medicine that my mom prepared, my grandmother took, I think, a cup of that, because she was really getting sick. She was in her 80s and she was blind, but she said, this is the one that heals everything in our body, and that people knew about it from way back in history. So it wasn't out there because they didn't want to mix it with the modern medicine. So the modern way of thinking, the science and medicine we know don't work. So I just wondered how, I like your project. I like the way that you're going to be helping other people. I just wanted to know if you have any elders background on this. Masti. It's a hard one.
Thank you for sharing that story with us. One of our members, Dina, actually wants to speak to this, so she'll come up.
Hi, that was a good one. So at the beginning, in our beginning meetings, we had a lot of discussion, and that was one that was brought up, the respecting and the traditional medicine, kind of like where Chaga had gotten out there and the whole world knows about it now, that it's very limited to us. So in this case, we do know there is very powerful medicine out there. We just need to figure out how to how to keep it sacred to our people. So when we are going to go forward in the future, we're going to very much keep it to booklets, pamphlets, something, but we're not going to take those sacred things and publicize it at all. That's going to be in-person teaching and nothing more. Nothing will be written down. It will be saved. And we want to have the person who knows it inside and out to be able to teach us the proper way and the proper use of it.
Thank you, Dina. All right. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to pass along Phyllis, our elder here. We do have a friend, Morberg and her mother, and they are very, very knowledgeable. So they always make sure that, that stuff is kept safe and is very knowledgeable. So we are very, very cautious with every step that we take towards dealing with plants and their energy.
Great. Thank you both so very much. Can we get a big round of applause for Piper and Jamie and their presentation?